Good afternoon, everyone. Ms. Kaja Kallas, the High Representative of the Foreign Affairs and the... Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me, ma'am? Ms. Kaja Kallas, the High Commissioner for the Foreign Affairs and the Security Policy of the European Union, and ladies and gentlemen, August Assembly. In the beginning, I'd like to welcome the dear friend, Mrs. Kaja Kallas, in her first visit to Egypt since she has took this appointment or her position. This visit comes in line with a great group of challenges, several challenges that we all face, not only at the level of the relations with the European Union, but also at the level of continuous coordination between Egypt and the European Union on the regional and international issues, with mutual keenness from Egypt and the European Union to establish peace and stability in Middle East and the Mediterranean region. The relations, as you know, with the European Union has been elevated since last year to reach the level of a strategic partnership, a comprehensive partnership, and we are proud of this elevation of the relation, and we are working on further development of this relation. And the six axes included either the political axis, the economic axis, the commercial axis, or the axis of cooperation in combating illegal migration, or the axis of cooperation in the defense and security fields, in addition to the axis of educational and cultural cooperation between both sides, and Egypt's involvement in the European projects, important projects like Horizon Europe and Erasmus+, in addition to the axis of interaction between different peoples in Egypt and the different peoples of the European Union. Together with Her Excellency, we reviewed the six axes of these strategic comprehensive partnerships, and we agreed on the importance of activating the political axis by holding the first Egyptian-European summit this year at the level of the President of the State, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, and Mr. Costa, the head of the European Council. We also agreed on the importance on further work on developing and activating the political, the economic and the investment axis, and we reaffirmed on the importance of more commercial exchange by more access to the Egyptian goods in the European Union in order to tackle the deficit in the trade balance, in addition to raising the European investments in the different economic sectors in Egypt. It's very important to build upon the results of the first investment conference between Egypt and the European Union that was held in June last year in Cairo. And we are preparing for holding the second edition of this conference in the European Union capital, Brussels, in line with the Egyptian-European Summit. We also agreed upon the importance to continue implementing the financial component of the European Union package with a value of 7.4 million euros by quick endorsement of the second segment with a total of 4 billion euros after the transaction of or the transfer of the first segment last December, in addition to maximizing the benefit from the investment guarantees allowed by the European Union to the small and medium enterprises with total of 1.8 billion euros in order to raise investments in Egypt. Here I'd like to refer to that the International Commerce Committee in the European Parliament has endorsed the second segment of the package, and we are anticipating a voting on this segment in the European Parliament in the upcoming weeks, and we hope that this is done smoothly and quickly. We also tackled the access of migration and movement, and we confirmed on the importance of enhancing the paths of regular migration between Egypt and the European Union, in addition to enhancing the partnership of the talents or talent partnership for its paramount importance, so the European Union can benefit from the youth community here in Egypt with their experience and the clever labor in Egypt, especially that most of the European Union countries suffer from old ages. So this is very important, and it can achieve good for both sides. We also confirmed the importance of tackling the illegal migration from its roots by supporting the economic or the socio-economic development in Egypt while providing job opportunities. We also stressed on the achievement accomplished by Egypt since 2016 by preventing the waves of illegal migration and preventing them from leaving from any Egyptian coast since then and until now. I also talked to her about hosting almost 10 million refugees here in Egypt. We are looking forward for further support from the side of the European Union, so we can deal with the challenges, the social and economic challenges incurred by Egypt due to the burden of hosting such a huge number of foreign guests. Especially this comes in a time we are facing huge economic challenges in Egypt due to external reasons like the Ukrainian crisis and its implication on the food prices, in addition to the crisis in the Red Sea region, and how this affected the revenues of the Suez Canal, and how we lost more than 65% of the revenues, exceeding $8 billion. From my side, I confirmed on the Egyptian priority to implement the axis of enhancing the human capital. And Egypt, in this regard, has joined the European Union initiatives on research and innovation. Dear attendees, we discussed in details together with Ms. Kaja Kallas a number of regional files and international issues that are important for both sides. On top of them, definitely, the core of the conflict in the Middle East region, which is the Palestinian cause. Together, we reviewed the vision and the intensified efforts exerted by Egypt in cooperation with our brothers in Qatar and in coordination with our friends in the United States of America to work on a return to a de-escalation and to stop the Israeli aggression against the innocent civilians and disarmed civilians in Gaza Strip. I also stressed on the importance to commit to the ceasefire agreement that was reached to before in January. And we need to work on swift movement towards the negotiations of the second phase of the implementation of the ceasefire agreement, especially after achieving success in implementing the first phase despite of the obstacles that we faced. From my side, I confirm the fact that the only way to release all the hostage, especially when they are alive, is to return to the negotiation table and to commit to the ceasefire agreement. I also informed Ms. Kaja Kallas on all the details of the Islamic Arab plan related to the reconstruction. I also conveyed to her thanks and appreciation to regarding the positive situation taken by the European Union towards this plan, especially that this plan is a glimpse of hope for the Palestinian people and preserves its right in building their home country and to the self-determination, and it preserves the right in staying in their land, in their territory, and not getting out of it. In this regard, I cannot miss to extend deep thanks and appreciation to Ms. Kaja Kallas for her stance supporting the plan, and to the member states of the European Union for welcoming this plan during the works of the latest European summit. From my side, I stressed on the paramount importance of establishing a political horizon that gives hope to the Palestinian people to establish their independent state with Eastern Jerusalem as its capital. I also affirmed on our aspiration to receive European support to all the Arab, Egyptian and Islamic efforts exerted to reach a ceasefire. And I also talked about the paramount importance of deploring the Israeli aggression against Gaza Strip, and we need to work on stopping this aggression and committing to the ceasefire agreement that we reached to before last January. We also talked about the importance of doing this in order to move forward in the reconstruction process. We highly value the strong stance taken by the European Union, the stance supporting the two-state solution and the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people. We also agreed on the necessity to provide full support to UNRWA that is not replaceable when it comes to providing the basic humanitarian services to the Palestinian refugees. I also informed Ms. Kaja Kallas on the efforts exerted by Egypt to prepare for the reconstruction conference hosted in Cairo with participation from all the players in the international community, and how important to return to the de-escalation so we can achieve the reconstruction. As you know, after meeting Ms. Kaja Kallas, the High Representative of the European Union, there will be a meeting for her with the Islamic Arab Ministerial Delegation. She'll have a meeting with them. This delegation or this committee was assigned to continue communication with all the international parties to work on promoting the outcomes of the Arab Summit, especially in relation to the Arab Islamic Recovery and Reconstruction Plan, and to work on supporting the Palestinian people on their territories. Finally, our discussions witnessed the developments in Syria. I also confirmed on Egypt's support to the brotherly people of Syria. We also agreed on maintaining the sovereignty of Syria and the unity of its territories. We also expressed our full rejection to the escalation happened in the Syrian coast area that resulted in the death of many civilian casualties. We here reiterate on the importance of an inclusive political transitional process to include all the components of the brotherly people of Syria, because this is the only path to achieve security and stability in Syria, in addition to continuing the efforts related to combating terrorism so Syria can become a source of stability in this region. We discussed the situation in Lebanon, and from my side I talked about the serious escalation from the Israeli side. This escalation warns us that the conflict will happen or will return to in Lebanon, and we need to agree on stopping the hostilities, including the full withdrawal by Israel from the south of Lebanon, in implementation of UN Resolution 1701 completely. We also agreed on intensifying cooperation and coordination in the Red Sea region to guarantee the freedom of the international navigation so it can return to its normal rates. In the Red Sea, we also discussed the situation in the African Horn and in the African Sahel area. From my side, I reiterated stress the importance of this water security issue. Again, we would like to welcome Ms. Kaja Kallas, and we are confirming our commitment towards further coordination and consultation with the European Union to guarantee a prosperous future for the relations between Egypt and the European Union, and distinguish the relations in the Arab region and the Middle East and the European Union, hoping to see these relations moving to a wider horizon. And the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's really a pleasure to be here. Dear Foreign Minister Abdelatty, dear Badr, thank you for the warm hospitality here. We discussed many important issues that the Foreign Minister already covered, including relations between the European Union and Egypt, as well as the regional worries. And I must stress that the European Union and Egypt are very important partners. So since we signed the Strategic Comprehensive Partnership last year, I think we have deepened our relationship, and there's a lot to build on. I mean, you already pointed out different areas spanning from relations, political relations, trade, also migration, security, education. We greatly appreciate Egypt's vital efforts in promoting stability across the region. At the time where there are so many dangerous activities and dangerous security developments going on. And I think we really need to stick together. Today, particularly, we discussed the situation in Gaza. Egypt has played a key role in amid the ceasefire negotiations, and we are very grateful for that. We strongly oppose Israel's resumption of hostilities, which caused appalling loss of life in Gaza. The killing must stop. And in a new war, both sides lose. That is very, very clear. From the European side, it is very clear that Hamas must release all hostages, and Israel must fully reinstate humanitarian aid into Gaza, and negotiations must resume. While it is difficult to speak of rebuilding of Gaza while the bombs are flying, we also discussed the Arab plan for Gaza's reconstruction. The plan offers a solid blueprint for rebuilding, and again I thank Egypt for the crucial role you have played in hosting the talks. European Union is ready to assist and is preparing a financial package to support also Gaza's reconstruction. But it is clear that more clarity is needed on issues such as cost sharing, also security arrangements, and also the future governance of Gaza. We will be discussing these issues with the Arab Islamic Ministerial Committee later today, and we also remain committed to the strengthening governance of the region. It is clear that we don't support any Hamas also participating in the governance of Gaza in the future. And what I want to stress is that EU's commitment to this two-state solution is the only path to really lasting and sustainable peace. EU is committed to the two-state solution, so we are supporting that path. We also discussed Syria. I mean, the recent violence has shown that hope is hanging by a thread, and we need to really do everything to have stability in the regions. Syrians have a small opportunity window to really shape their own destiny, and this process has to be Syrian-led and Syrian-owned. And we will have to help them to seize this opportunity window. Last week, the week we had in Brussels, we hosted also a Syrian conference pledging 5.8 billion euros for Syria's recovery. But of course, all the lifting of sanctions is a four-step approach, so we need to see the steps going into the right direction. And this pledging will also support Syria at this crucial time of transition and help address the dire needs on the ground. So Foreign Minister, thank you again for the hospitality. I think there is a lot of work to do, what we need to do together for the stability of the region, but actually also for the stability of the whole world. So I'm really glad to working with you and really looking forward to a close cooperation. So thank you.
وثيقة. Thank you. Now we open the floor for questions. Mr. Samir Omar from Sky News. You, ma'am, have referred that the European Union is supporting the Arab Islamic Egyptian plan for the reconstruction in Gaza Strip, and you mentioned that that Israel should take the responsibility of the ceasefire. So what is the stance of the European Union towards Hamas? Would you like that Hamas gets out of the scene in order to provide the support or not? Another question for the Minister Badr Abdelatty. Does the Arab Islamic group would like Hamas to be disarmed, or do you provide solutions to overcome this issue?
Thank you for the question. So yes, we welcome the Arab plan, but like I said, it also has a lot of questions that need to be clarified. And one question is the cost sharing of the future reconstruction, and very, very important question is the governance of Gaza in the future, and the security arrangements as well, because the security concerns of Israel need to be also taken into account. The European Union position is that Hamas should have no role in the future governance of Gaza, and that is something that we definitely need to discuss, because it doesn't, the Arab plan doesn't address this in concrete terms. Thank you.
Of course, the Egyptian plan and the annexed report. Actually, there was a deep talk, and it could be developed regarding the governance and security in Gaza Strip. As for governance, there is an agreement on a group of names, as I mentioned before, that consists of 15 people from Gaza Strip. All of them do not belong to any section, and they are technocrats, and they do not have anything to do with the Palestinian sections. And their main role is to manage this strip in a transactional manner for 6 months, in line with with empowering again the Palestinian Authority, so all the departments of the Palestinian government can be deployed inside Gaza Strip and be responsible for the management of the Strip. No one talks about a single section, either Hamas or any other group. There is no role to be played by any Palestinian group when it comes to the management of Gaza. We are talking about a committee that does not belong to any sect in Gaza. Then the Palestinian Authority, because it's a legitimate authority, will take the task of managing this disturb. When it comes to cost sharing, definitely all the international parties will share their responsibility to provide financial pledges in order to work on implementing this plan, either when it comes to the early recovery that lasts for less than a year, or the other part on the reconstruction with its 2 sub-phases as mentioned in the plan. Everyone is invited to participate. We're talking about an international conference. We're talking about an international fund to be run by the World Bank or the United Nations, or both of them. Another part, or the third point, it's very important. The security situation. Who will be responsible for security in Gaza Strip? This is a legitimate and important question. Here we're talking about the necessity to have a police authority on the ground that is responsible for imposing the system and security discipline. This will be achieved by benefiting from the police Palestinian police that is affiliated to the Palestinian Authority that exists in the Strip, and we need to deploy them in a different manner. Take into consideration the age factor. We should recruit youth, Palestinian youth, of course, after conducting security check for them, so they are trained and deployed again in the Strip to restore security. We're talking about benefiting from the capabilities of the European Union to participate in the training process. We have entities like EUPAM, Rafah mission, and EUPOL COPS. These are security missions affiliated to the European Union, and we can benefit from them and cooperate with them. We need to think about deploying an international forces affiliated to the United Nations under a UN resolution, which is very important, as mentioned in the outcomes of the Arab Summit. The Arab Summit outcomes are clear in this regard, so there is a solution for all of these issues and challenges, but first of them is the political will, and the second point is the goodwill. But for this, we cannot make any progress. There's a ceasefire agreement, but we have to commit to it, literally. We succeeded in the first phase, and we released more than 35 hostages, meaning that this agreement is fruitful, at least in the first phase, and we have to continue until we move to the second phase and the implementation. Thank you so much. Another question? Mrs. Randa Abu Azm from Al Arabiya channel. My question is for Ms. Kaja Kallas. You will leave from Egypt to Israel in the light of the Israeli aggression in Gaza and in the south of Lebanon. So what is the political role of the European Union, or how the European Union can practice pressure to stop this aggression? In addition, the plan of the reconstruction in Gaza, can the European Union have a power inside Gaza in the first phase or in the first phases in general? Another question to His Excellency the Minister. You talked to the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iran, and you mentioned that Egypt has losses in Suez Canal reaching $8 billion, which is 65% of the total revenues of the Suez Canal. In light of what happens in Yemen, so have you reached anything with Iran? If there is a de-escalation or escalation from the side of the United States towards Iran, or vice versa?
Thank you. Yes, I will travel to Israel, and of course we will raise all these issues because we are very concerned about the hostilities and the loss of life in Gaza to Israel's resumption of hostilities. And we had Association Council with Israel, where we were also raising all these issues, that they should resume to the negotiations and stop the killing there, stop the bombing there. Of course, the hostages have to be released as well. So our messages are very clear. I mean, the humanitarian law has to be followed. People's lives have to be saved. Humanitarian aid must reach the people. It can't be politicized. I mean, our border crossing mission that the minister was mentioning, EUBAM Rafah, that has to be opened because people with medical needs will get out of Gaza. I think it's very important that the hostilities will stop and the people's lives are saved and spared in this. So I think, you know, resumption of this war just brings more killing, and it's not in the interest of anybody. So I will definitely raise these issues and European Union will use the tools that are in our hands. Thank you.
استخدم الأدوات المتاحة بين يديه. As for Yemen, our situation, our stance is clear. Of course, there should be a de-escalation in Yemen. And definitely, there should be a full stop. They should refrain from targeting ships, and there should be a guarantee for freedom of the international navigation. Of course, escalation and military actions do not serve any party in the region who is interested in achieving stability and security and prosperity in the region. We need to maintain the freedom of the navigation. We need to avoid the military actions, and we need to tackle the roots of this issue by a full implementation of the ceasefire agreement and the following full access of humanitarian aid inside the Strip. But there is no justification for the escalation or for targeting the ships. This is totally unacceptable, and it affects us and harms us. Sharif Abdul Hamid from Al Jumhuriya newspaper. I have two questions for His Excellency Dr. Badr Abdelatty, the Minister. The first question is on the Arab Islamic Comprehensive Plan. And there is a violation from the Israeli side to the ceasefire agreement, how this situation is handled. The second part of the question. Now, Sudan. Do you believe that Sudan is close to the stability, to achieving stability? Thank you so much. First of all, the current situation is totally unacceptable. The resumption of hostilities and military actions against civilians in Gaza Strip is totally unacceptable. And again, as I mentioned, we need to return to the ceasefire agreement. This is the practical and real solution in the current conditions. It's the only solution that guarantees the release of all the hostages in Hamas hands. We need to commit to this if we are keen on saving the lives of the hostages. We need to avoid the starvation policy, especially in this holy month. It's not acceptable to use the starvation policy as a collective punishment policy against civilian innocent people in Gaza. In relation to Sudan, we follow up the situation in Sudan. Egypt supports a national Sudanese state. Egypt supports the Sudanese institutions in the state. And we are fully keen on restoring stability and security in Sudan. As you know, we have more than 5.5 million Sudanese brothers staying on the Egyptian territories, and we provide to them all the forms of support and protection. Definitely, the vast majority want to return to their homeland. So achieving stability in Sudan is very important so they can return to their homeland. And so we can build again Sudan. It's very dangerous and very sad what happened in Sudan, because these are the assets and the belongings of the Sudanese people, and we need to maintain them. So I discussed with Ms. Kaja Kallas about this, and there's cooperation between Egypt and the European Union when it comes to the consultation on the situation in Sudan and how to restore the stability there. Again, we need to focus on the solution that guarantee the unity and the stability of Sudan. This can only be achieved by supporting the Sudanese state institutions and supporting the capabilities of the state. We do not support any individuals in any neighboring countries, but we rather support the institutions. We rather support the state, the national state, and this is the only path to achieve the prosperity of the Sudanese people, Yemeni people, Libyan people, and Syrian people, and Lebanese people. The only way is to maintain the national state and full rejection of any division of these countries. Thank you so much.